It is day 179 of the second Trump administration. Tonight, we are tracking brand new reporting from the Wall Street Journal about the connection between President Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. A letter with Trump's name was included in Epstein's 50th birthday album and reviewed by the Journal. Shortly after the story was published, the president posted that Attorney General Pam Bondi would, quote, produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony from the Epstein case, subject to court approval. Bondi said that her department was ready to move to have documents unsealed. And this is what the Wall Street Journal story described. Take a breath. A letter bearing Trump's name contains several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a heavy marker. The letter includes, quote, happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. The president denied writing the letter or drawing the picture, saying, quote, this is not me. This is a fake thing. It's a fake Wall Street Journal story. I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women. It's not my language. It's not my words, end quote. He also threatened to sue the Wall Street Journal, saying, just like he's suing everyone else. Well, according to people familiar with these pages, they're among documents reviewed by Department of Justice officials who investigated Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell years ago. It is unclear whether these documents are part of the Trump administration's recent review. The Wall Street Journal noted that the Justice Department did not respond to a request for comment. The FBI has declined to comment, and NBC News has not independently verified these documents. But boy, are we here to discuss them tonight. So let's get smarter with the help of our leadoff panel. Peter Baker is here, Chief White House Correspondent for The New York Times. Leigh Ann Caldwell, Chief Washington Correspondent for Puck. Former Republican Congressman David Jolly, he is running for Florida governor as a Democrat, and former U.S. Attorney Joyce Vance, who spent 25 years as a federal prosecutor. Congressman Jolly, you first, your reaction to this reporting.
Look, I think the American people want transparency and accountability, and the American people also know when they're being lied to. And we were either being lied to a few months back by Donald Trump and MAGA, or we're being lied to now. And Steph, I think that last point is why this is really now becoming a full-blown scandal. And it's becoming a full-blown scandal because this is no longer kind of a MAGA circular firing squad or a MAGA family conversation. I think tonight a second audience has entered the chat, if you will. The American people, the mainstream media consumer is now saying, wait a minute, we've been lied to one way or the other about the Epstein files and Donald Trump. And so now they're asking to be held accountable. And so whether you're a 6-year-old kid or a 76-year-old man, if you're lying to the American people, you're going to get caught. I'm not sure Donald Trump has a way out of this. I know Barb will explain kind of what he has asked for and the limitations of what he's asking for in terms of public disclosure. But right now, I think we're in the mode of a full-blown scandal at the White House.
Peter, what's your take?
Well, look, obviously, I mean, Congressman Jolly makes a lot of points. What's really fascinating here, of course, is that this is a creation of his own, responsibility. This is a president who played with fire and is now being burned by it. He loves conspiracy theories. He encouraged conspiracy theories. He played, with the QAnon world, with the Epstein suspicious world, and now suddenly they're biting him. Now, this letter from the Wall Street Journal, is published, is fascinating in a lot of ways. It doesn't really tell us that much new. We already knew that Trump had a kind of crude side. We already knew that he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. It doesn't really answer a lot of the questions that a lot of people out there are asking about, but it continues the scandal, as Congressman Jolly put it. It continues the issue in a way he has tried to shut down. He wants to move on from this. He's looking for ways to distract attention from this. But this has been one of the few stories that has really kind of had legs in the 6 months of his second term.
It's going to make it hard to move on because at the heart of this, Leigh Ann, part of the reason MAGA grabbed onto this is because the heart of this is really about the elites having access that no one else does, the elites having a special Department of Justice, a special legal system that only works for them, and that they lie to the quote unquote rest of us. So doesn't that put the president in a particularly difficult position that as he's trying to distance himself, he can't, with stories like this reminding people, no, sir, you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, absolutely, Steph. This is about people who are anti-establishment more than any sort of political party. These are people who think that the government and institutions have lied to them over and over again. And that's also why they loved Donald Trump. They thought that he was the truth teller. They thought that he was going to come in, do things completely different, break the system, and do the exact opposite of what he seems to be doing with this Jeffrey Epstein case. And that is why it's so visceral for so many Trump supporters, is the fact that they now see Trump doing the exact same thing that they saw previous administrations or previous government officials doing, especially when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. And so this is a deep, long-running emotional issue for so many people. And that's why it's so problematic for Donald Trump. He was their savior, and now he has not done that. And the way he has handled it makes it seem like he is now mocking them, making fun of them, calling him past supporters, that they have been lied to and they have been taken advantage of, and they've bought into it, hook, line, and sinker, he says. So this is why it could be a real problem for Donald Trump. I don't know electorally if it's going to have a major problem for Republicans, but this does not seem to be going away. We're already in week 2, and it's only getting worse, Steph.
Well, in part, Leigh Ann, because it's not just him not delivering on something he promised for them. They have the belief that he's not delivering because he's protecting himself. Joyce, let's get legal here, because the Attorney General says they are ready to ask the court to unseal grand jury transcripts. Explain this to us, because when Trump says produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony, the word pertinent sticks out to me. Can't they get cute about what they deem is pertinent?
You know, not only can they get cute, Steph, I think that's the entire strategy here, because this isn't a clean case for releasing grand jury. This will go to a federal judge. There will be a serious burden on the Trump administration to establish why the material should be released. And they don't fit neatly into any of the pegs under the federal rule of criminal procedure that covers the release of grand jury material. So it's likely that this gets tied up in court, that it takes a while. There could even be some appeals of the decision. And this is very classic Trump. When he's cornered, he tries to distract. He uses delay, he uses litigation. I think he's banking on the fact that it will work for him one more time. But here he may not get away with it, because as everyone else has been saying, as Leigh Ann has said, what the conspiracy theorists want is to see the deep state unraveled. And if Donald Trump becomes the deep state by trying to keep this material wrapped up in court, it could be a whole new ballgame.
But Joyce, let's say for a moment the president says, no, I want the information released, and it's a friendly court, and the court says yes. Doesn't it go back to this idea of pertinent? Can't Pam Bondi say, well, anything that maybe has Donald Trump's name in it, I don't deem that as pertinent? Even if the court says yes, can't they then decide what is pertinent to the American people, or what's pertinent to the case?
It's a great question, because they'll have to go to the court and be specific about what they want the court to authorize them to release publicly. And so she absolutely could take that very narrow reading. And something that we haven't talked about is the fact that this material, which involves Ghislaine Maxwell, whose case is still on appeal, also involves the victims of this crime. So even if it is released, it will be heavily redacted. And that, of course, will only sort of stoke the flames of the conspiracy theorists.
All right, Peter, the White House press secretary posted that the Wall Street Journal refused to show them the letter and said they did not have it in their possession. You know the president. How are they going to use this situation now?
Well, he told the Journal that he was going to sue them, basically. He said, I'll sue you like I sue everybody else, which, in fact, is no longer kind of an empty threat, because, in fact, he has been using the courts to go after media organizations with some success in the last few months. Obviously, he forced ABC into paying a settlement, millions of dollars, because of, what George Stephanopoulos said about him on This Week. He forced CBS to pay $16 million to his presidential library because he didn't like the way that they edited an interview with somebody else, Kamala Harris. There was no defamation claim there. He simply said, I think you didn't do a good job with this editing. And he somehow managed to force them, because they need a approval from his administration for a merger, to pay that kind of money. So he's made clear he's willing to use the courts to go after media outlets that displease him. He's made clear that he can use that successfully. So you have to imagine that the Wall Street Journal, Rupert Murdoch, the company that owns the Wall Street Journal, was very, very, very sure about this letter before they published it. And I think that's, this is not a paper that's inclined against Donald Trump inherently. And so therefore, if they publish it, it's because they think it's real.